So after we got to the island, we were looking for things to do. We were a little bit limited with snorkeling trips and things like that, so we decided that we could go on, it was kind of like a longboat trip to a few different islands, which included leaving the boat on one of them and getting in kayaks and taking a kayak trip around the island and then into a cave and checking out the cave, and then going to another place where you could potentially see some monkeys and just random stuff. So we decided, yeah, I mean, nobody else was around. We booked the trip. We ended up being on the boat, just the two of us and a guy who was on a vacation by himself from Paris. So yeah, we really didn't have much, we weren't able to communicate with the guys on the boat, just smile and nod and point and, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, so we just kind of, went with the flow and, we got on the boat and we go out and you immediately start to see some islands. They're beautiful. Some of them bigger than others. And the first one we stopped at was a super tiny one, and we hopped off and they said 10 minutes, which turned out to be like a half an hour. No shade or anything, so you're just walking around like, I guess we live here now. So yeah, it was pretty cool though. I mean, you had a 360-degree view of everything around there. So yeah, we chilled there for a bit. We thought we might have to live there, and so we were looking for places to find food, which was nowhere. I guess we have to eat bugs. So once we got back on the boat, we took off for the next destination, which we didn't know where that would be. But we started to get closer and closer to this giant rock-looking island, like some sort of villain's lair out of some superhero comic book thing. But yeah, the closer you get, you see there's a little beach, and obviously that's where we headed. And we parked the boat and hopped into our kayaks. Kayaking is something I've only done a couple of times, so I really didn't really know exactly what to do at first, and Annalie had done it, and so we're just kind of, we were winging it. It went off pretty well. We didn't have any major hiccups, and we just followed the guide around. He would, just kind of row for a while, then take it easy. We'd float, take in some of the nature, which was beautiful. And then, after, 20, 30 minutes, we stopped at a little beach, got out for a 15-minute break, got back in, kept going. And as you go around, you just, it's so breathtaking. I've never been so close to these type of islands in my life. And I had no idea what was in the water we were floating above, so I didn't want to know. So I'm really glad we didn't fall out. But yeah, so as we floated around, we knew that we were eventually going to find a cave. And I remember in the brochure, it looked like these guys were, it was a whole tour group of people led by a guide with one of those flashlight hats, and everything looked safe and everyone's smiling. And that may be the case when it's like high season here, but now it was basically just us. So we float around this giant rock, and once we found it looked like a cave was beginning to happen, and our guide leads us into it. And we're like, okay, cool, this is going to be all professional and legit. As it turns out, we just go ashore, and he walks us over to this. It's like a big, steep, kind of a hill inside. It's like a big, steep hill, and it's super dark. And we didn't have any flashlights or anything. And he just said, okay, go up there. And we're like, okay, what do we do? We walk a bit. There's a rope. You hold onto the rope and you pull it, and you go so far, and then there's this. It's like straight up ladder made of tires that are tied together by rope, which was pretty intimidating and hard to really work with when it was so wet inside the cave. So we got about halfway up, and things started to feel a little bit like, oh shit, we could die here or break something and not be able to kayak back. So we made a good decision, and we went back down. We hopped back on the boat, and our other guy, the guy from Paris, he went on his own separate excursion. He had done a different trip. So we waited for him for a while. Then once he arrived, we all got together and went off as a big group again, the three of them. So next destination, we stopped at a private island they had booked for lunch, which had really nice catering, and it was really cool. We walked around and found some random things. We noticed it was going to storm like immediately, so everyone started leaving that area. And one thing we still needed to do was go to a mangrove forest, which is where all the monkeys hang out. And we got close enough, and the guys started to throw bits of pineapple at them. And of course, they just decided to jump right onto the boat. And yeah, we had some friends for a while. They were running around, eating the food, getting right up close to you. I mean, they have no fear, and they were really curious little guys. One had a baby hanging off of it, as you can see, which was super adorable. But yeah, and one of them ran behind Annalie and just launched over her head at one point. That kind of made everybody jump. But yeah, they just curious, neat little guys, and they were just hanging out with us for a while. And then at a certain point, you know, as the boat started to move away, they could tell, and they kind of knew that they were supposed to get off. And everybody did, except for one. The mother with the baby on it ended up just staying on the boat, and the guys in the back didn't see. So we were getting further and further away, and there was no tree for her to jump onto. So she kind of perched up on the front, and they noticed her, and so they immediately, you know, we all got their attention, and then they ran to the front, and we had to go back close enough to a tree where she could jump off, but also we didn't want to crash into anything, so we were able to push off from the tree, and that was it. We turned around and headed back, and yeah, that was the end of it. The next day, we wanted to visit a place that was also on our list, the Lanta Animal Welfare. It's like a rescue center for dogs and cats around the island that people find, you know, in traps or just abandoned, and they bring them here. And if they have any health problems, they have veterinarians, which can, you know, perform surgeries and take care of them. And any sort of ailments they have, they'll treat them really well. It's a great organization. I put the link in the description here if you want to check them out. They're purely nonprofit, and they run on donations from people. But yeah, a lot of these animals, they're adopted out to people. Some of them will live there their whole life. You know, it all depends. But they've definitely got a nice, caring environment to live in. And they have a nice little cafe there, which I got a really nice Vietnamese coffee, and so everything you spend there goes to support the centers as well. That's it so far. In a couple of days, we're going to head to Malaysia. We're going to go to Georgetown and Penang first, which there's a lot of great street art there, and it's a really interesting, cool place. Lots of great food. I think it was voted like the best street food in Southeast Asia multiple times. So yeah, that's coming up next, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah, hope everything's good, and see you soon.